presented by Exquisite Timepieces. More information about them in the description down below and at the end of this video. If you've been paying attention to the watch industry for the last 4 years, no doubt you've noticed that Grand Seiko has been rapidly growing in popularity. It was back in 2017 that Seiko announced that it would separate the Grand Seiko brand into its own entity. And yeah, in that time, Grand Seiko has definitely grown to be one of the top luxury brands, competing with the likes of Omega and Rolex, and in some ways even beating them at their own game. Now, for my money, I'd guess that their most popular model is the Snowflake, reference number SBGA211, and it's easy to see why. The beautiful parchment white textured dial is a fan favorite, and look, it should be a fan favorite. Seiko's textured dials, in general, are one of the hallmarks of the brand. But what if you want something that pushes the dial texture envelope even further? Then, I think you might want to check out this watch. From their Four Seasons collection, the SBGJ249, or the Show Summer Blue Edition. The 39.5mm high-beat GMT model is what I might call the watch for someone who's looking for a snowflake on steroids. Sure, it does have a different, more classically styled case shape, and it's not running a spring drive-based movement, nor is it constructed in titanium. But when I look at this watch, I just get these serious, next-level snowflake dial vibes. As mentioned, this is not running a spring drive movement. It is in fact the 9S86 high-beat automatic, a movement that runs at 36,000 vibrations per hour, or 10 beats per second, giving you a similarly smooth sweeping seconds hand. And the movement has a 55-hour power reserve. It has 37 joules. And of course, it is hand-winding and hacking, and it features a date complication along with the 24-hour GMT complication. Now, the movement, like the entire watch, is really nicely decorated, and of course, it's visible through the display case back window on the rear of the watch. And, like most GMT complications, it has a quick set hour hand in the first position on the crown. What this does is it allows you to change the 12-hour hand as you travel, like from time zone to time zone, without stopping the watch from running. It's a fantastic feature, and it's one that honestly I think should be featured on more watch types. Now, the dial is covered in a box-shaped sapphire crystal, and it features anti-reflective coating on the inner surface. Some of the other specifications for this watch include a case and a bracelet that are both made from highly polished and beautifully finished stainless steel. And the bracelet clasp is a 3-fold clasp with push-button release, and of course, it's signed with the Grand Seiko logo. Being a part of the Seasons collection, this watch is known as the Summer model, and it has an amazing wave texture dial that has a faint light blue tint to it. And of course, under my studio lights, it might come off as almost silver to some of you guys. It's not silver, it is light blue, but the harshness of my lights that I have to use to film under just doesn't do the color justice. But these lights should show off that delicate texture super nicely. Now, another difficult thing to capture on camera is the detail of the finishing on the handset and all of the other appointments on the dial. The hands are in a sword style with razor-like high-polished edges and smooth brushing throughout. And honestly, if you like macro details on watches, then Grand Seiko is definitely a brand for you to check out. They just seem to go above and beyond most similarly priced watch brands when it comes to fit and finish on things like the dial markers and the hands of their watches. The stick markers, beveled and polished as well, again, are so finely detailed that you have to wonder, why did they spend so much time and so much effort on a detail that you can barely appreciate with the naked eye? But that is, and it seems to always have been, the Grand Seiko way after all. Finally, we have the GMT hand, and it's also accented in blue, though just a bit darker than the blue of the dial, and it's a nice touch that stands out just enough to be readable without being so loud as to distract you when you want to check the time quickly at a glance. On the wrist, this watch is great, and I have a 6 3/4 inch wrist, so something like this in 39.5mm in diameter, I can more than comfortably sport a watch of this size. And the bracelet, it's as comfortable as it is attractive, and it lays on the wrist really nicely. And then there's the clasp, and while it is really nicely made, it does lack much in the way of micro adjustment. Although this is a pretty standard style clasp for Grand Seiko, so it's really not surprising that that's what we have here. And the bracelet does come with a pair of half links, so getting a good fit shouldn't be too difficult for most users. I gotta say, at a price of $6,800, considering the quality of the fit and finish, the GMT function, and the high beat movement, and of course that dial, I do think that this is actually a lot of watch for the money. If you take into account the little extras like the display case back, the Grand Seiko signed crown and clasp, and a timekeeping accuracy of -3 to +5 seconds per day, yeah, I really do think that this represents a great deal of value in the luxury watch segment, and one that I'd highly recommend taking a closer look at if you'd like to add a Grand Seiko, a GMT function watch, or just something with a bombshell dial to your collection. This video is presented in partnership with Exquisite Timepieces, my local brick-and-mortar watch dealer located here in Naples, Florida. Exquisite is an authorized dealer of dozens of watch brands, including Omega, Seiko and Grand Seiko, Blancpain, Breguet, and many, many more. Exquisite also has a fantastic selection of pre-owned watches with new inventory coming in daily. So if you're looking for your next watch, I highly recommend checking out their website, exquisitetimepieces.com, or calling their store at 239-227-2932. And if you do happen to talk to them, let them know that you heard about them from Guy and the JustBlueFish channel. I can't recommend them enough.